Hey guys, it's Jules and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a recent reads. For those of you who don't know, what I do for these videos is I will give 2 sentences to describe the book, which may or may not be accurate sentences. Sometimes they're just really silly sentences. And then I list one thing I liked and one thing I disliked, which could be really anything, whether it's a character, plot point, how the author writes. Let's just jump right into this. And if you're new here, this is my dog Diego. Say hello, Diego. Goodbye. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is Daruis the Great is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. 2 sentences for this book would be half Iranian boy has no purpose in life, goes to Iran and kind of starts to discover a purpose. So what I really enjoyed about this book was that it's centered around Daruis's character growth, like that's the main point of the novel. I personally really love character growth and books that center around characters, so this was really enjoyable for me. I just really loved seeing his evolution because it wasn't steady. It kind of would go a little back and forth, which is very accurate to anybody who's growing, I would say. And what I disliked about this book, which is more my fault than the author's fault, because I thought this book was gay and it is not. I wish they had been a couple, which now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they do work out better as friends, but I thought it was gay, so I was a little disappointed because of that. The next book is On the Come Up by Angie. 2 sentences I would use to describe this book is 16-year-old girl wants to become a famous rapper. Sometimes you can't trust some people. So one of the things I really liked about this book was just getting to learn so much about hip-hop and rap, because honestly I really don't know that much, and so I've never really cared for it because I have no connection, or I just have no knowledge either. So it's it was really nice because now I have a much greater appreciation for rap and hip-hop. What I disliked about this book is just I was right about Supreme, and that's as much as I'm gonna say without being spoilery. Next up, I've got I Was Born for This by Oseman. 2 sentences to describe this book would be fandom world and real-life boy band world collide. People learn a lot about themselves throughout the book. So my favorite thing about this book was Jimmy and his anxiety, because I really related to it and I loved it so very much. He just was a really interesting character, and it's I really related to it, but at the same time there was different aspects that I did not relate to. And then what I disliked is sometimes I just found Angel a little too annoying. I liked her for a majority of the book, but there were just tiny little aspects or moments where I was she's kind of being dumb or annoying, and so that kind of threw me off her character a bit, but I still really enjoyed this book. The next book I have is Solitaire by Oseman. 2 sentences to describe this book would be internet group causes mayhem, depressed girl does not care. So what I like most about this book is Tori and her depression, just because, as I said before, I really relate to it. That's something I really love about Alice Oseman's characters, is she always writes people that I'm I see myself in this, and I really, really, really love that. And then what I disliked about this book was the pacing. It just, I guess the timeline for this book didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and reading it back I noticed that I don't understand what even is the time frame for everything that's going on, so that was a little odd and it threw me off a bit. Loved it regardless because Alice Oseman is my queen. Up next, I've got The Witch Boy and The Hidden Witch, both by Molly Ostertag. These are the first 2 parts in a trilogy of middle grade graphic novels. So 2 sentences I would use to describe these would be boy wants to practice magic in a matriarchal family, and boy gets to develop his magic more in part 2. As you know, with graphic novels, I always love the art. I think it's always so stunning, and that's always my favorite part. These books are no exception. They're absolutely stunning, and it's so nice. I just love it. It's really simple, but it's nice because she goes into detail with the backgrounds and stuff. What I disliked is in this book, one of the characters who we barely meet by the end of the first book dies, and I'm really sad because I wish we'd gotten to learn more about that character before they had died. I don't want to say who they are because spoilers, but it just kind of was a little disappointing to not get to know more about that character. Up next, I've got Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. 2 sentences to describe this book would be gross demon king has human girls be his sex slaves for a year. One girl fights back. So one of my favorite things about this book was the caste system, because how it works is there's demons who are up at the top because they're the most powerful, and then you have half demon, half human, and after that you've got humans at the bottom. And so I just thought that was really interesting because it also kind of shows just how stark the differences are between the different castes, because the demons look down kind of on everybody, even the people who are half and half. The half and half, even though they're only half demon, they still are very uptight, and look down on humans. And so I just thought that was like an interesting dynamic. What I disliked about this book was the epilogue, because it reveals this thing which I think would have been better to leave for the next book. I think it probably would have been better to like build that suspense, but instead it was revealed like at the end, and so that was a little disappointing because it was just like, oh, I guess that's a thing. Next, I read Unite Me, which is a collection of novellas by Tahereh Mafi. Inside there's Destroy Me, which is Warner's POV, and Fracture Me, which is Adam's POV. I'm not going to do two sentences just because they're novellas and I feel like I don't want to reveal anything. So what I liked was that we got to see their different perspectives, because I think they're such stark different characters that it's just very interesting to like see what it's like in the mind of Warner versus like the mind of Adam. And then what I disliked is, I didn't realize this the first time I'd ever read like Adam's novella, but he really looks at Juliet like she's a child or like this injured puppy or like a baby that he needs to protect. Yeah, she kind of does need like that protection because she's very naive and doesn't really know how the world works, but at the same time it's like she is a grown like girl, like she's a teenager. She knows more than you think she does, and so that just really annoyed me. He just looks at her like she's a child, and that like he's like some like big like savior type who's got to protect her, like he's her knight in shining armor, when really he's just kind of a jerk. So next I've got The Matchmaker's List by Sonya and Lalli. Two sentences to describe this book would be: grandma tries to help her granddaughter get married. Granddaughter is dumb. So what I liked about this book is just I really related to how the main character has like everyone in the Indian community pressuring her to get married. Like her grandma's like, you have to get married, and everyone's around her is like, when are you gonna get married? Like, what happened to your boyfriend? I really related to that because when I went to India back in December, every one of my family members was like, oh, you're 20 now? When's the wedding? And I'm just like, I'm a child. I'm not getting married right now. I'm in college, and that is my main focus. And what I disliked about this book, which was really kind of like the main reason I did not enjoy this book, well, one of many reasons I did not enjoy this book, was just that the main character lets her grandmother believe that she's gay just so she doesn't have to tell her grandma, hey, I've been talking to my ex, you know, the one you hate, the one who my best friend told me not to talk to. You can't use being gay as like a plot device or like a way to be like, hey, guess what? I don't want to tell you this thing, so I'm gonna pretend to be gay. And it just pissed me off. It's just ridiculous. Like, I can't believe she actually was just like, you know what would be easier? Lying to the people I love and telling them I'm into girls so I don't have to be like, hey, I'm talking to that shitty ex. Next, I read Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Two sentences to describe this book would be: girl becomes apprentice to villain, fun times ensue. What I liked about this book is two things, actually. I really like the art style, and I love that it's like told in like the point of view of like the villains. It's like very simple. You can see like the differences in the characters, and I really like that. Now what I disliked is it has an open ending, and I really want a sequel, but I don't think I'm gonna get one. The next book I read was Next Year in Havana by Cleeton. Two sentences to describe this book would be: a woman in the 50s falls in love with a revolutionary, present day girl falls in love with a revolutionary. What I liked about this book is that it's told in like dual point of views. So you get Eliza, who's the grandmother, and you get her perspective living in Cuba in 1958, I believe. You also get her daughter Marisol in 2018, and it's about her visiting Cuba for the first time. And so I just think it's very interesting to see like the stark like differences and how it was then versus how it is now. And what I disliked is I had like a couple problems with like both of the couples. So with Eliza and her revolutionary, I just didn't like the age gap, because I think it was like 10 years if not more, and so I'm like, that's uncomfortable because she's like 17. The problem I had with Marisol and her revolutionary was just that they had only known each other a week, and it took them less than a week to say I love you to one another. That was just too fast. I just don't think they should have said I love you. Like, they could have still been like, hey, I really like you. You could probably still have the same impact with their relationship without saying I love you. Next, I read a book that a friend recommended to me. It is called Hunting Annabelle by Wendy. Two sentences to describe this book would be: unreliable narrator, witnesses kidnapping, goes on the hunt to find the missing girl. So what I liked about this book was the unreliable narrator, because I thought it was just so interesting, because what it is that the main character, he's got a lot of drugs in his system, and he's kind of going through withdrawal throughout like the journey of him trying to find the girl who went missing. And so like his memory is fuzzy, he doesn't really know what's like kind of going on sometimes, times. And what I disliked was that the ending was just a little too convenient. Like, I feel like it just wrapped up really nice with like a bow. And last but certainly not least, I have We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal. 2 sentences to describe this book would be: girl who was a renowned hunter for her village goes on a quest to find a lost magical book the cutest assassin boy joins with. And that's me being very biased because I love Nasir. Speaking of, that was my favorite thing about this book, was Nasir. I loved his character so much because he's so complex. He's like naive, like he's a little naive, but he's also like, he knows how the world works. It was just very interesting to see somebody who was like tough guy exterior because he's an assassin, so he kind of has to be, but also there's like things that he did not realize were happening right under his nose. And so I just think it was like very interesting to see how like the author played with that. And then what I disliked is there's this character Dean, and I don't want to say what happens with him, but he's just used as a plot device, which really sucked because he had the potential to be this very interesting character. So I filmed this video back in July and didn't film an outro because I'm dumb. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My question for this video is, where's one place in town that you want to go? For me, it's like a lot of the coffee shops in town I've never really been to, and I really would like to. I just don't ever really take the time to do so. 2 people answered my question last week, or 3 weeks ago. Knox said that she freaking loves Hey Violet, and Rachel Marie said that she's really loving Jane the Virgin. Shout out to you 2 for answering my question. Y'all are the best. Just like, comment, subscribe, you know, the usual, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye!